Hi everyone, today we're going to be looking at computer specifications, and you'll be successful in your learning if you can draw out key information from a computer specification that you've been given. Today what we're going to do is look at 3 different computing adverts and use that to draw our information from. So let's start off with a wee practice starter. Okay, on the board what we've got is a sample computer advert as kind of a small couple of paragraphs about a potential computer that you might want to buy. Get your teacher to pause the video and have 5 minutes to fill out on your worksheet, which is lesson 4, computer specifications, what you think the most important bits of information are here if you were looking to buy this computer. Okay, then we're going to come back in 5 minutes and I'll go over all of the important information to see how much you managed to get. Okay. Okay, hopefully you've all had a little bit of time to think about that and to fill out the information on your worksheets. I'm going to go through all of the important information and see if you managed to point it out. If you did, give yourself a little tick or a little pat on the back for every one you've managed to point out, and then hopefully that will help you when we go on to doing today's task. So, I suppose the most obvious one, and the first one most of you have probably spotted, is the one at the top, which is your price. Okay, price is obviously really important. You can't buy something that's outside of your budget, but again, the more money you spend, it's more likely to get a computer of a higher quality. So it's always really important, I would say, when thinking about buying technology, buy to the best of your budget. So go to the top of your budget rather than trying to find something cheap. You'll often find that a computer will work a lot better and last you a lot longer than buying something that potentially wasn't quite as good. The next thing was a bit more difficult. This was the actual manufacturer. So Compaq. It's really important to think about who the manufacturer is. Some people have a preference and always like to buy computers of the same type. Other manufacturers you might have heard of, maybe more popular than Compaq, would be things like Mac, Acer, HP, Dell. Usually you can tell the difference between the manufacturer and the model because the manufacturer tends to be on the computer system itself. So if you have a little look here on the actual front of the computer box, that is the Compaq sign. If you have a little look at the computer in front of you, depending on what computer you have a HP, you might have a Dell, and you'll usually see that on the box of the computer itself, okay, built into the system. The next thing that stood out to me was the model, okay, so it's kind of just like buying a car. You have a make, like a Ford, a model being Focus or a different type, Fiesta, for example, okay. With computers, you have the same thing. You have your manufacturer and then you have your model. The model numbers, again, are kind of a bit random sometimes, but you will have kind of newer models which are usually a little bit better than some of the older ones. So again, that can be something that you might want to take into consideration when thinking about buying a computer system. Now, the next one I'm hoping you spotted was the processor. You don't have to list the name of the processor, however sometimes the model number again can give you an indication on how new it is. But what's important about the processor is this bit here. Okay, so you can see we've got an Intel Pentium processor and it gives you the model number there. But what it tells you here is the speed of the processor. Now, processor speed is measured in how many instructions it can do per second. And what gigahertz means, hertz is something to do with frequency, is that this computer can do 2.6 million instructions every single second. Now that sounds like an awful lot, but actually this isn't an expensive computer. That's actually not that much. Nowadays computers can work a lot faster than that, and you'll notice a good correlation between processor speed and the price of your computer, okay? It will make a big impact if you go for a computer with a much higher processor speed. But whenever you're trying to write information about processor down, just stick to that speed and what it's measured in. It might be megahertz, gigahertz, terahertz, whatever. Okay? Then what we've got down here is 2 gigabytes of memory. It might call memory RAM or a kind of other version of RAM somehow in some of the adverts. That's exactly the same thing. Random access memory, 2 same things. Again, the more memory you have means the more things you can have open on your computer at once. If you're trying to play high quality games, or if you're going to be doing some image or video editing as part of, maybe you're a photographer or something, you're going to want a computer with a good amount of memory. This one's got 2 whole gigabytes to be able to store information, but again, in a modern computer, especially a desktop, that's not necessarily a lot, and you might be looking for things like 8 gigabytes or 6 gigabytes to make your computer work a little bit better, but again, that has a big impact on price. This one's not too expensive, not got too much memory. The next one we've got is your hard disk drive. So we know that from last week, we're talking about backing storage. This one has 320 gigabytes of hard drive space, so that's actually particularly quite good. Again, it's a hard drive rather than a solid state drive because it's in a desktop, so it doesn't need that kind of robustness. It's not being moved about as much as a portable device would be. 320 gigabyte, quite large, so lots of space for storing photos, videos, games, etc. Again, they go up and up and up, and if you start to look at things like terabytes, that's equivalent to 1024 gigabytes, so again, can have an impact on your overall cost. The bottom paragraph's got more information on kind of the general other parts of the computer system. So it starts off by saying 18.5 inch display. Now those double little quote things, that basically means inch, so 18.5 inch display. Remember, when measuring a screen, that's not along the top or down the side, it's actually diagonally across the middle. And you can see that just after this, it tells you about a 16:9 aspect ratio. So it shows you that it's a widescreen computer, but also you can kind of see that from the picture up here. Okay, so slightly wider than it is tall to give that widescreen effect if you're going to be watching movies or something on there. Okay. The next thing we've got is the name of the graphics processor. So again, just like the model of the computer, the name of the graphics processor can be important. It might give you more information about the graphics processor, but for us at the moment, what we're just really looking for is model number and the kind of the newer version of that. So the higher the number tends to be a higher model. This is a GMA. Intel graphics processor, you get different types, like a NVIDIA GeForce is quite a good one for gaming. So whenever you're looking for a graphics processor, you're really just looking for the name of it and what kind of model it is. It might give you more information. So some graphics processors have their own memory with their own kind of wee processors built inside. Just if you're going to be really big into gaming or something like that, they process the graphics themselves. But again, for a lot of smaller computers, it might not give you as much detail like this one. The next bit of information we've got is that it has a DVD rewriter built in, so that means it can both play DVDs and write information to DVDs. That's probably a bit older now with regards to computer systems, because a lot of the newer computer systems don't even have a DVD port or a Blu-ray port at all. But some of the ones the desktops do, so that's kind of an advantage. So you have to just have a little look through the adverts and see what you can find. But that just means it's got a DVD disc drive and that you can both write DVDs and watch DVDs. And then we have the audio. So it's got integrated speakers, they're high definition, and they're audio 5.1, okay? So that means that it's got audio built in, which is why you don't see speakers in your picture. Now, the last thing that you might have thought, well, actually, this is quite important, is the actual image itself, because the image gives something away that's not mentioned in the paragraph, okay? You can see the big computer tower box on the right that's got all these things we've been talking about in it, like the hard drive, the memory, the processor. You can see the screen that we've already mentioned, but you also see there a keyboard and a mouse. So this package comes with a keyboard and a mouse that isn't mentioned in the paragraph, so that would be something you'd be able to tick off if you were looking for a full package for a computer advert. Okay, so we know it comes with a keyboard and a mouse as well, which is good. Again, you might want to upgrade them depending on what you want to use it for. You might want to add other input or output devices depending on what you want to use it for. But the information in the paragraph tells us about some of the devices that we might not have realised were there. So the DVD rewriter being backing storage and the audio being some output devices. Okay. Now, what your task is today is you're going to be given 3 computer adverts, okay? 3 very different styles of computer and 3 different prices of computer. And you're going to ask to compare them and find all of this information on the left-hand side. Now, the reason some of them are white and some of them are grey is that the white ones are the kind of easier ones. So if you're struggling, start off with them, then go back to do the grey ones, okay? You'll have 1 page of information for each of the 3 systems. And what I want you to do is just to write down what you think the answers are. So can you see the manufacturer? Is it Dell, HP, Acer, Mesh, whatever? Okay, can you see what the model number is? Can you find what the price is? Remember, with the price, always read the small print. Make sure you've got all the information you need. Okay, then when it comes to processor speed, main memory and hard disk, you're looking for numbers there. So how many gigahertz was the processor speed? How many gigabytes was the main memory or the RAM? How many gigabytes or terabytes was the hard disk capacity? And writing down the numbers inside there along with the appropriate units that it says. Okay. When it comes to the graphics card, you're writing down the name of the graphics card that you can find in the model number. You might struggle to squeeze it in the box a little bit, but you're doing it on the computer, so if you need to, you can expand the table out a little bit. Okay, and then monitor size, again, you're just looking for that kind of inches, so 18.5 inches, 9.5 inches, whatever it is, writing in the size. When it comes to the last 4, keyboard, mouse, network card, and DVD read writer, all you're putting in those boxes is either a tick across or a yes or a no, if that's easier to type. So does it have a keyboard in the picture or in the paragraph? If it is yes, then you type a yes. If it doesn't, then you type a no. Okay, same with mouse, same with DVD read writer. Now, the only thing that we haven't mentioned is network card. So most computers have a network card. That's what allows them to connect to the internet. So have a little look and just see in the writing anywhere if you can see the word network, or if you can see anything that kind of hints at the fact that it would be able to connect to the internet, you can say yes, it has a network card. Okay. Your teacher will stop you about 10 minutes before the end of the period and will go round the room and ask everybody for what their answers are, and we'll be able to provide you with the answers to make sure you've got most of them right, okay? If you're struggling with the first system, do as much as you can and then move on to system 2. Let me show you what the worksheets look like. So you should already have opened this, where you've done your starter up here, and this is what you're going to be filling out for system 1, system 2 and system 3. Okay, what you need to do is grab the top of that screen and you're going to split screen. So pull it as if you're going to pull it right off the edge of the screen, and you'll see this kind of clear box appear. When you let it go, it'll snap and it'll ask what you want in the other half of the screen. On the other half of the screen, what you want is this document, which you'll also find in the pupil share directory, called Computer System Specifications. Okay, and if you scroll down, it's got your 3 systems. So there's system 1, okay, on the first page, system 2 on the second page, and system 3 on the last page. Now, before you start, there's a lot of information here, okay? So what I want to say to you is, don't worry. Start off with the big things. So for example, manufacturer, pretty obvious in this one who the manufacturer is. It's at the top. You can see it written in front of the box. Pop in the name, okay? Model number is always a little bit longer, so make sure you get the whole model number in. And then anything else that stands out to you. You don't have to do these things in order. So if you're seeing information about the monitor size, pop that in. If you see information about the price, pop that in. Now, whenever you see an advert that's got these big paragraphs and then it has these bullet points, I would always encourage you to go to the bullet points first, because usually what it is the paragraphs are kind of the wordy descriptions, the bullet points are like a summary. So if you can find all the information down here that you need for all of your kind of key points in here, you don't need to read the paragraphs. But in turn, if something that really doesn't make sense to you, then you can go back and it's usually mentioned within the paragraph as well. Okay. Remember, if you're really struggling, you can always press Control F and find a word, for example, like network, and see if that will tell you anything about whether it joins to a network or not, if you're struggling to try and read the information. Okay, again, they're all laid out slightly differently, but this one's the same. So it's got some paragraphs of information. It's got some summary in here. So this one's going to be filled out in system 2, and the last one will be filled out in system 3. Okay, as I said before, your teacher will stop you before the end. Try to fill out as much information as possible, and don't worry if you don't get it all. It's mostly about trying to see if you can pull that information out. Okay, there's a couple of tricky ones, so see if you can catch them, and good luck. Speak to you later, guys. Bye.